afternoon, guys. Welcome to this live. We were going to talk about the Zimura issues, and we talk about the Zimura issues because they have really gone, viral. So, just making sure my sign is good here. And I'm gonna just share this with some people. So I don't know, did you guys watch the DJ Ollah interview? Okay. Sorry for that. My thing had been paused. I don't know why. Liquid Home Wi-Fi sometimes does this, and it really isn't great for me. All right. So just for the purposes of those who didn't watch the DJ Ollah interview, I'm going to play some audio here. I've got the audio on my, as you can see, on my YouTube. I'm going to play it. So let's go. And this is for the purposes of commentary. So this is fair use. According to copyright law, I'm doing fair use here. I'm going to be commenting on this interview. Okay.
Votera kuita mkoma First Farai is the acting chair of the board.
Yeah.
Ndosaka makwana pakashaka madzibaba Nicola Zakaria mira vari chair, bozo wangu vari acting chair.
Okay.
So everyone knew we had an election on the 19th of January on Monday, and we sent out a reminder. So Takawana, I think you know kuti mkoma Garakara is a headmaster.
Yeah. Famba saying is an election yenyu magafamsa say how did you vote my board members on Wasipo and yeah.
All right, Ollah, thank you very much for that very important question. Ndingatanga nekuti Zimura organization inoshanda nemutemo, just like the country inoshanda ne constitution. Isusu tine yedu bumbiro remutemo rinonzi memorandum of articles of association. Memorandum and articles of association.
Yeah.
So this document carries all the rules and regulations and procedures.
Right, let's just I hope it wasn't too loud. I might have lost people here. I want to comment on this, so I'm going to play. I'm going to be playing the audios so that you can hear, and you can hear as I'm commenting on the issues. Okay, so here we go.
Zimura. Alex Gwenzi Vanuatu, the chairperson of Zimura, held a press conference on Tuesday to address confusion and disputes within the organization. Saganasi tavashedza pano mustudio kuti titaure tinyadzoti zvakanyatso mirasi chichi kuitika tinzwise kuti nyaya dzemari dzakafamba sei uye dziri kufamba sei zvekuti dziri kudyiwa chikave chiri chokwadi here munyaya idzi.
Round in case unogona kuwina another vote from another camp. Vaita futi 4-4. Convener vari chimbodzokerai kumba mende Christmas.
Yes.
Kutangidza futi next year pamwe pana anenge agona kutorachi.
Okay.
Mumwe kuside kwake. Vatavotera kuita mkoma First Farai is the acting chair of the board.
Yeah.
Ndosaka makwana pakashaka madzibaba Nicola Zakaria mira vari chair, bozo wangu vari acting chair.
Okay.
So everyone knew we had an election on the 19th of January on Monday, and we sent out a reminder. So Takawana, I think you know kuti mkoma Garakara is a headmaster.
Yeah.
Takatanga tawana excuse from mkoma ichinza, I'm sorry, I cannot come today because ndine meeting my headmaster. Tikati no zvakanaka. Tikwana excuse kubva kune the other two gentlemen. It's there on WhatsApp because we've got a board member group.
Okay.
And we still have those messages on WhatsApp. I'll show you if you want to see them. Tikati zvakanaka. But Zimura, because ine mutemo unoti out of the 8 board members, 3 vakauya ku-meeting, they form a quorum.
Okay.
And they can make decisions on behalf of the organization. That is what the constitution of Zimura says. But we were 5. It was myself, Honorable Dingimu Ziputi, who is the Deputy Minister for ICT. He also sits on our board. First Farai, our legal counsel, Chiedza Shoniewa, and our treasurer, Evelyn Natsai. So it was the 5 of us. And so we voted. And First Farai was also standing in as chairman. He also wanted to, he also threw his name for chairmanship. Ndova results abuda ndine 4 votes. First Farai aine 1.
Okay.
That is how we then got the chairmanship for Zimura. And everything was done above board.
Everything.
Everything was done.
Are you sure?
We even invited them to say, because in Zimura we allow a member if someone is traveling. You know, this is the trend now. We are moving with times.
Yeah.
Kana koma Ollah mnonge muri board member when organization iri ku UK. Musinga.
Alright, so this was a very long interview, guys. You might even get bored if I keep on moving with it. I was just also trying to share this live. Alright, so yesterday pakaitika interview DJ Ollah. There were 2 interviews, and I want to weigh in onto those interviews. So what I just tried to do there is to at least play so that you guys can hear. It would be nice if I can put a little screen there. I'm still working on that, by the way. Where I put a screen live. Like this was, and you can see the screen. But unfortunately, it's too small. Should find ways to get it to you. I will do that. So the issue here is that let's first explain what happened with the whole board issue, because everyone is talking about Zimura kunechi kwakaita some papers are saying there's civil war and whatnot and whatnot. So this was Alexio explaining on the DJ Ollah podcast about the events leading to this whole thing, right? And so this problem, when the elections happened, and I once shared this, and I'm going to share this again. Remember, I was part of the candidates who were in this election. So I actually have inside information. I'm privy to how the Zimura elections took place, right? And I'm not the only one. I'm actually happy that yesterday Tembelami went on ZTN. Tembelami was also a candidate, by the way. So there were many candidates, but Panawaka winner. But I'm just glad that out of the other candidates who even didn't win, they are still talking about these issues. And yesterday, if you didn't watch it, I also... All right. My thing keeps on being paused. Really, this is frustrating, Liquid Home. I'm paying like a lot of money to Liquid Home for my thing to be paused. Anyway, so we go back to... if you haven't watched these interviews, I would encourage you can look for them, to hear for yourself. So anyway, let's go back to the background of Zimura politics, because I keep on telling people that you need to be aware of the politics that has been taking place, the landscape and how things happen in that place, because that's why I say demystify. Because a lot of people act like Zimura is some sort of beast or something, but there are things that can actually be easily demystified. So, not to take too long, the background to the election was that there were a number of candidates, but amongst these candidates, there were 2 candidates who had their videos taken by one of a former chugged out board member, Fred, right? And this was Joseph Karakara and Amuli. And the evidence is there where their videos were actually being taken by Finto. And they say Finto. So when on the eve of the election, what people did was people said people were involved in the election, that is, the candidates. Right? That's why I mentioned Timbalam, because Timbalam was also a candidate. The candidates, I remember we were speaking amongst ourselves, Nana Willis, Nana Victor, and we're saying, this thing, Chato, it's set, because look at what these guys have done. These guys are actually working with people who are fighting the organization, that is Amuli and Karakara. Why are these guys having their election videos being taken by Finto? So people started raising the alarm. Already before the election. And people, a lot of the candidates, if you ask them, actually wanted to say, let them run because chini chakato gadzirwa. If you remember, what then happened is Mudiwa then dropped out at the last minute because he was still a candidate. And then he actually caused a lot of havoc because ku AGM akabvati ndoda kukudzai nyaya yechi yezviri kuitika panapa kuti bhodhi ratogadzirwa kudhara achitaura nyaya people who vote in absentia, which is allowed in the constitution, by the way. But I'm just giving you background. So anyway, fast forward, the election is done, winner. And now we have this new board. Me, I knew there was a problem because when the new board is done, the new board, that is, votes for a chairman. And that's done by the new board. Saka, I kept on asking Derek. Why I kept on asking Derek is because Derek made himself the director of information of this new board. He made himself. Because he's the one who said, I want to be the director of information. Let's be clear about that. And in the DJ Ollah interview, Gwenzi alludes to that and whatever. And it is not a lie. It is true. Because Derek made himself the director of information. And he says, I am the director of information. So I remember pestering Derek, asking Derek, because when he made himself the director of information, he asked for a group to be created. Yeah, in the Zimura main group. I was also in that group, by the way. There are a lot of people who were in that group. So he creates this group called Zimura main group, and he tells us that he is the director of information. So this is where this whole I am the director of information comes from. But already there was factionalism in the board. So it's not like Derek was like, the people were like, yes, Derek needs to be the director of information. The board was already fractured from the beginning. I'm telling you the background of where two of the members had Finto take their election video manifestos for them. So there were already issues from the onset before anything else. So now in voting for a chairman, there were two distinct camps. And I say two distinct camps, why? Because it is clear that someone was voting for this person and someone was voting for this person. Of course, people's votes are their secret. But it could be clear from the deadlock that there were two distinct camps that were angling for one or the other of the candidates. And so now, Nyaya Taura, I hope you listened when I was playing the audio. I can't play everything, obviously. Copyright, no vanzi, natola jese. I said I'm doing this for fair use. I'm going to play a few things. And I did play. And I think we can just listen. I'll play and then do commentary as I play the video there. So the factionalism started even before. There were things that were happening in the background. But then what then happened is, as Gwenzi has explained, that when the other faction now saw good, atisina victory, atisina path to victory, on the day when it was decided to Murugita the other election now, then this faction then does their press conference. They don't come for the board meeting, they go and actually do a press conference. Because it's three of them. It's simple maths. Let's do maths. We've got a board of 8 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got a board of 8 people, right? But there are 3 people, namely Derek, Amuli, and Garakara, who are the opposing guys, right? Who are saying, these are the reforms that we want, this is what we want. They were calling for things, and we've asked them what the reforms were. I remember on that group, these guys want to be talking about, hey, transparency, These guys were not transparent at all. And I can say this with no no fear whatsoever, because this is the truth. And I asked Derek on that group, the evidence is there, my WhatsApp screenshots, Atoripo. I kept on asking Derek, what's going on? Why haven't you guys elected a chairperson? Derek said, everything is fine. Everything is fine. That's what he said. He says, listen, everything is fine. But we know that everything was not fine. So the issue was, Okay, I'm back. It's continually pausing. Liquid warm. You're letting me down. I have to actually send a complaint. Liquid warm. So now we come to this issue of this whole thing. It's a fight for power, guys. It's a fight for power, and it's unfortunate. So to an extent, yes, people will be like, hey, why is this person saying, no, let's not wash our dirty linen in public? Listen, some of us, we knew these issues, but we didn't even speak about them. I'm speaking about them now because these guys have gone to the public. There were issues even my issues of people who clearly were working with someone who had been taken out of the board. Anyway, let me continue playing.
You can attend the meeting virtually and also cast a vote virtually. And we said, gentlemen, if you can't come, you can vote virtually. But 3 hours into the meeting, we then saw a press conference.
Yep.
The three gentlemen holding a press conference that was not sanctioned by the board. You are not allowed to do any of that sort without the board making a resolution and resolving for any such press conference to be held.
What made them to hold that press conference?
Right, Ollah. What I can tell you is Zimura irikurwiswa neimwe nzira yatisina kumbofunga kuti tingasvika.
Okay, so now we go to the point of the press conference. So what we are getting to know here is Vana Derek vakaita press conference yavo when they were supposed to be at the board meeting where they were running elections. This is where I might point to say these guys vanga or not, there's no path to victory because it's 3 versus 5. They saw that there's no path to victory. But Twitter say they got it a press conference. And that was an assumption press conference as well. Right? I'm just playing. Listen, I'm playing from the, you can see, there's my laptop. I'm playing from the DJ Ollah interview. These are not my words. These are the words that are coming out. But it makes sense when you piece everything together. Kuti kochi chakaitika. Right? So anyway, we can spend the whole day talking about this whole thing. But at the end of the day, it's an issue of power. This is what, and I even said on that WhatsApp group, whoever was on that WhatsApp group can actually testify because I was a very loud person on that WhatsApp group. I said to the guys, you guys have a boardroom squabbles, and you're not even being transparent to us. So that's what I'm saying. Kutwana Derek are busy wanting to talk about transparency now because things didn't go their way, but they were never transparent. I remember when I said, you guys are having boardroom squabbles, and Amuli says, and I say, I'm your enemy because I'm speaking the truth now. I'm speaking the truth now. I've told you that you've had boardroom squabbles, and then now everything has come out into the open now. So who was telling the truth now? Who was telling the truth? I knew, I could sense that something wasn't right. I told them, but you guys, you are having boardroom squabbles. Something is not right. Why haven't you chosen a chairperson? And the faction of 3 was being deceptive. Those guys are lying. They want to talk about transparency and act as if they are transparent, but the honest truth is their thing that they did was an attempted boardroom coup. And the only reason that they did that attempted coup, and they're still continuing to try and do a coup, is an issue of power. Because if they themselves were transparent, they would be transparent and talk about the fact that they were not agreeing in the board. If they were transparent, they would never have allowed Kuti First Farai Ati, I am the acting chair. Because if they had issues with the process, if they had issues, you see, this is a problem that we have, and it needs to stop. If you have issues with an elective process, right, don't say it after the fact. Say it within the fact. Na First Farai, I'm the acting chair. They shouldn't have accepted that, and they should have clarified and said, First Farai, you mama, I wouldn't be the acting chair. But because it's at Skuvumirana. But you see, the thing that happens with politics, this is why I said this is politics. This is politics. And a lot of musicians, unfortunately, because these guys are talking about issues, and these are valid issues. Right? Let's talk about these. It's valid issues. Kuti ndikawana $10 ema royalties, of course I won't be happy. These are valid issues. They are valid issues. But we are not looking at the thing to look at and say what is causing this. This is where I like the ZTN interview. Of course, my Zimbabwe representative didn't manage to go there because the panel was unbalanced. But what I liked about that interview, Tembelami was at that interview. I wanted to look for it as well on YouTube, but I was advised by YouTube. They on Facebook, but then I can't access the Facebook. I can't access Facebook when I'm live on Facebook. I don't know if that makes sense. Right now I'm live on Facebook. So if I try and access Facebook on my laptop, it will affect my life. This is why I'm using YouTube for this DJ Ollah podcast. Because while I'm live on Facebook here, I can use my laptop on YouTube. The only thing that I need to work on is now to make that, to make the visuals, but you can sort of like see them there. I'm trying to make you see them. To make the visuals of what I am seeing to be also what you're seeing. But I'm just going to have that little laptop just coming up so that you can see. So, guys, pane politics, which is why we were saying anyway, let me continue playing and
pachinano chakadaro. First of all, tinema member akabuda board vatikatobvisa nenyaya yekuva nhubu according to our constitution. One of this guy is maybe a sworn enemy to Zimura, and he has vowed to say, I will destroy Zimura. We know that because he has taken us to court 1,000 times. We have got maybe 20 cases to see 2 of the board members. Abo avaishansa ku campaign kupinda board. And we've got, I'll show you, Ollah, before I go. This board member is actually saying, hey, Ningi Mira, achitora video, yakashandiswa for his manifesto to get into the board. So we know that these 2 gentlemen were put in the board by this guy who's been fighting Zimura. So
who is fighting Zimura? Who is this guy we are referring to?
Okay, so I'll explain and explain that way. So you know what? A lot of people, what happens? Let me tell you something that happens. Pane rage culture. It happens a lot on social media. Pane rage culture. Yekuti on social media, if something trends, it's very easy to jump onto the trend. And when one jumps onto a trend, they'll jump onto the trending side. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's called rage culture. You jump onto the trending side. So, pakaita trend, Zimura must fall. Everyone will jump onto that trend and just say, Zimura must fall. Pakaita trend, Zimura iri kuba mari. Everyone will just jump onto that trend and say, Zimura iri kuba mari. But to actually then really study and say, this is where I'm trying to come in. You know what? I'm a music educator, and ever since Zimura issue started, and a lot of people are always like, hey, Tinashe, why are you always supporting Zimura? But the thing is not that I always support Zimura, but I have an understanding of some of the politics, of some of the issues surrounding what we are seeing, what we see as symptoms, right? So it's like some of the things that we see are symptoms, but there is an underlying disease that is happening. So everyone, when they see the symptoms, everyone wants to deal with the symptoms, but sometimes it's always good to dig deeper. And so what I'm glad about, you know what I'm glad about? I'm glad about the fact that people are actually talking about these issues. Because as people continue talking about these issues, pane nyaya dzichabuda. And this is why I want to go to the ZTN interview. Yakaitwa yangaina Tembelami, Chifumbu, Finto, Edith, and some other guy. I don't know the guy. I wanted to play that ZTN interview, but like I explained, I'm just going to explain it since I can't really play it. But I liked what Tembelami said, because Tembelami addressed an issue, advertising revenue. And I also want to address that issue, because a lot of people are looking at, like I said, the symptoms. So over the years, the royalties, Zimbabwean royalties have gone down over the years. This has happened. why has Zimbabwean royalties for musicians gone down? Let me explain. For example, let's look at Zimura and their agreement with ZBC. So Zimura's agreement with ZBC is that Zimura gets a percentage of advertising revenue from ZBC. So ZBC will play musicians' catalogs. They'll play videos of musicians. But what happens is Zimura says, Pamuruku advertiser, to pay percentage advertising revenue. That was the deal that was made. And now, what then happens with that advertising revenue is they would then use the amount of plays. So that made it. Now, someone posted, and they were like, and I was like, guys, this is mathematics, this is accounting, this is statistics. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, we never really did like mathematics in school. Honestly, for a lot of us, not all of us, but for a lot of us. When we didn't even do accounting, I think, or economics. I think this is a call to say, at least some, accounting should be sort of like a compulsory course somehow, so that people can understand, how accounts works, how things function. Because some of the problems, some of the things really to annoy is actually a lack of understanding and ignorance. It is unfortunate to say this. Yesterday I said, let's have a frank conversation. Zaguti, the reason many people castigate us musicians and they say, hey, my musicians are not good. Zvokuti nyaya dzedu unotoona kutoti zvokwadi. Unfortunately, a lot of musicians are not very informed. And when we talk about education is not just going to school, right? Because some people have got degrees and they have now moved on into becoming musicians. But that doesn't mean they understand the music business. Because music itself should be a business that should be understood. And there are a number of factors why a lot of Zimbabweans do not understand the music business. Because music has never really been treated as a business. Music is mostly treated as a hobby. So for a lot of people, they do not understand the music business. Right? And for a lot of people, they actually do not take time to try and understand the music business. Right? And I'm saying this because I'm a music educator. So I know someone might be like, talk about music business. No, I'm a musician, full-time. All I do is music. And it is maybe I'm a teacher, like this other guy who's like, yeah, I'm a headmaster and I'm also a musician. No. Me, I am a full-time musician. And I'm a music educator. I actually teach music as well for a living. And not just, I'm a music consultant as well. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that when I speak about these issues, I'm not just another person who's just like saying, or whatever. I'm coming from a position where I'm also informed, not just about the things Zimura, but about music business from a bookish point of view, or from an educational point of view. And for a lot of us, we do music by the streets. Anyway, let me continue playing this issue because
who is the guy? We really need the names. Yeah,
it's not a secret. Yeah. We removed Philip Chipfumbu from the board for misconduct. And Philip Chipfumbu has been taking Zimura to court every time. Aneka free time. He goes to court and puts us in court. We'll talk about the fraud conviction. He's the same guy who took our CEO to court for the fraud conviction.
Okay.
He's the same guy together with his best friends who put these guys on board. So we were compromised and we were infiltrated. And I saw it even before the election. I said, gentlemen, but no, democracy, it's okay, democracy, let's go ahead. And this is where we are today. So when these guys got into the board, the first thing...
Okay, so, Mr. Chipfumbu, this is why I'm saying we're demystifying this. You know what I found said in Zimbabwe? And I say this as a music educator. When I was looking at case law, Zimbabwean case law, 1980 kushika up to now, I was looking at Zimbabwean copyright case law. So as I was saying, as I was looking at Zimbabwean music copyright case law, it is really sad that hatina a case law inodila nekuti ningaendesa court because munhu atora song yangu. We actually don't. I've been looking, I remember even on a certain group, guys, you see, these are the things where we say our music is not yet an industry. If you go, for example, I can give you cases, kind of my cases like there's the Blade Lines issue. This is worldwide. There's my cases, I get one Ed Sheeran, Chichichi. My copyright cases at no one in the world are copyright cases where someone is actually saying they are aggrieved because copyright was affected. Right, Nyaya Chipfumbu against Zimura has got nothing to do with a song. Inyaya yekuti Chipfumba anga ari part of the Zimura board, and then vakazonetsana, and Chipfumba explains, he continues explaining it. This is not defamation or anything. This guy continues explaining. So there's that history, right? So if we were studying music history in Zimbabwe, I'd actually think this would be good to put this. I think as we develop some sort of music curriculum in Zimbabwe, this needs to go down into the history books. This guy took Zimura to court. And what is unfortunate is that him taking Zimura to court, the legal costs where Zimura was trying to defend itself is being taken from the same royalties that he says, I'm representing the interest of artists. No, he's representing his own interests. He's representing his own interest. Because how can you say, if we are saying that the pool of royalties, right? And then you take Zimura to court over a period and you keep on. You have opened multiple cases. The representation and the money for Zimura to defend itself is being taken from the same pot that you are saying, I'm fighting for musicians. No, you're not fighting. So there are personal interests, right? And I can say this without worry or anything. There are personal interests. In the Tower ZTN interview, and the Tower where Edith, who is the president of Zimu, is there. Edith has got a bone to chew with Zimura because Edith was fired from Zimura. So there are people with Ivana Kutaura, those guys, they want to talk about conflict of interest, but they don't want to talk about their conflict of interest. Because you can't claim to be representing all musicians when you are representing a personal grievance. Who's talking about the conflict of interest? Yeah, Edith. You go to Edith, where you've got personal grievances against Zimura. You've got personal scores to settle. Who's talking about that conflict of interest? You see, so people might not like me because I have honest and brutal conversations about Zimura politics and issues surrounding this whole issue. Like I said, people see a symptom and then they think, Kuti, this is the whole thing. There is something that is going on that needs people to actually be open and honest and say, Iwo Edith, utori conflict of interest, pachako, Iwo Edith. Because you have a bone to chew, you have your own issues, right? Then we go to the bloggers, right? And I say this without fear of anything. I remember I had a thief na plot Marco, and I can say his name without fear. I had a thief na plot Marco. He blocked me. He blocked me on Facebook. Because what happened is, why Plot blocked me is because every time he would say something, I would speak out onto his misinformation. Because he says, I'm informing the public. I'm a journalist. I'm informing the public. Right? But this is gonna cause us as musicians to become ma citizen journalists. We'll end up becoming citizen journalists. Because when our journalists stop presenting a balanced issue, I'm glad, at least Ollah got to hear the side of these guys. Yes, he put them on the spot. It was very hectic for them. It's good. It's good. What Ollah did was good. And I would look for, I think I saw also DJ Sparks did an interview. I would also play it. There's a lot of stuff here. DJ Sparks, I really liked this interview. DJ Sparks did an interview. Of course, it would have been better if more people could have been there. Maybe DJ Sparks, you can get me onto your interview as well. DJ Sparks, if you're watching this by any chance. Anyway, I don't know. I liked the fact that these people wanted to actually hear. Because there are issues here, right? So there is a lot to unpack. This is why I call this demystifying this issue. And we have been silent about these issues, right? I think the only person who's been speaking a lot, anyone who knows me well, knows Kuti, I speak my mind. That's the type of artist that I am. I speak my mind. Anyone who has followed me long enough knows that I will speak my mind. So I'm not afraid to speak, and I'm not afraid because I'm not the artist who's running for approval. So I'm not afraid with Andikataura. So they've tried. And this is where I put a post today. Now, Spice or post, I really found it disgusting. Post from H Metro, because it was basically fate shaming. The post from H Metro. Nasi, I found it, and let me read what the post said, because I actually did, if you go on my timeline, I actually did a post, and I said, and this is what I actually then said, because I said, so are we now okay with fate shaming? Because that's exactly what this cover is doing. Not criticism, not accountability, just body shaming dressed up as news. Because they said, in the thing, they said, artist blasted for his bulging tummy, bombarded with insults online for stealing Chema and allegedly feeding off musicians' royalties in ugly Zimura fallout. So I said, no guys, are we now okay with fate shaming? Zvokuti munhu ane zibhodhi zihombe kana munhu ane kabhodhi kadiki zvinei nenyaya dzeZimura? Honestly, guys. So you will notice that when people do not have facts, people who don't have facts will always resort to insults. And I like dealing in facts. And that's why I'm saying when I'm talking about this, without ZTN in my life, I'm going to take out my financials. I'm going to take out my financials. In India, I have the advantage of having a background in banking. I did banking as well as Kushkoro Futi, with accounting. So, me, I understand figures. I understand figures. And yesterday, I started going through Nyaima Royalties. Kuti, I was giving an example, and I'll give it again today. Kuti, I said, I was having a discussion with a very popular gospel artist. AGM Zimura, because I'm going to go AGM Zimura. And I know so younger career sterek, but when I ichi mariza nakawana it's. And then I asked them, do you actually watch ZBC? Do you actually listen to Star FM? Do you actually listen to the? And the reason I was asking them this question was because of this. And I gave this example yesterday. I'll give it again today. Umwe arkurira pa Star FM Gospel Greats. Star FM Gospel Greats happens once a week. So, if, for example, you're only getting airplay on Star FM Gospel Greats, right? And maybe you get airplay panechimochi chat. Ndokwega kaukuridzwa, by the way. But urikuti urukurira, because my chat show kaukatopinda kanzi uri number 1, uri chichichi, unobva watoti ndirikurira. But the honest truth is, when it comes to gospel hairidzwi pamaradio zvekudaro. Which is why there was a time when I actually asked the question, why doesn't Zimbabwe have a gospel radio station? I actually asked that question. Now, with all the churches that we have, the mega churches and the whatever, pashaikwa munanotanga a gospel radio station, because this solves some of these issues. Some of these issues that people are crying about, Zimura, they are beyond Zimura. And I posed that question to you. Why doesn't Zimbabwe have a dedicated 24-hour gospel music station? Like what happens in the States, what happens in South Africa? Because that will actually help Nyadzema Royalties. It's because you will find, Kuti, right now with the way things are structured in Zim, gospel guys. I don't know. Other people can, let's talk about this. We're talking about facts. So we can do those calculations and then even start advertising revenue. Because advertising revenue, I show my why. Because Vanuaka Wanda now are going onto social media. Pakto ama sponsored posts. Maria Mbende Sok ZBC. Iya zino munanenda kuna Mama V. Ono badra Mama V Mari, because Mama V has got millions of followers on Facebook. Right? So that advertising revenue is now going to content creators. We saw when Speed came. People are so, and this is not a bad thing, by the way. I'm just trying to explain. Kuti, as musicians, can we have an honest conversation of understanding the causes for the symptoms that we are seeing? Kuti, pane nyaya dzakawanda, and kuti nyaya dzakawanda because there are many issues that are going on that people do not want to look at. Kuti chichikuitika. So right now, companies, and that was just one example. Companies, right? For example, in the company, what I'll just do is I won't go to ZBC because no one is watching ZBC. Very few people watch ZBC. So what I'll do as a company is, take my money, put it into a sponsored ad, right? Because now you sponsor ads. You can sponsor ads on Facebook. You can sponsor ads on X. You can even TikTok now. TikTok has got sponsored ads. Can you believe that? So people are spending their money. YouTube as well has got sponsored ads. How many? Even I've play by YouTube. Sometimes YouTube is actually very frustrating because YouTube, you have, that's why even now they're charging good. You can now, so there are issues there. Anyway, that ZTN interview, I liked it because when Tembelami was asked, Sarama royalties, and then he said, you know what, this is a private issue, but I can tell you with the Mashoma. This is Tembelami. He said it's on a ZTN interview. It's there in the public domain. I actually wanted to play the interview, but ZTN, I started an interview actually on YouTube, and like I'm explaining, since I'm on Facebook, I can't play from Facebook. As much as I want to, I can't. Because when I do that, it will disrupt my life. But I can play from YouTube, from my laptop, because that won't affect the life with the way things are structured. But I'm going to make things better so that I can actually just play any video I want. The Panama softwares are not as well. And so now, and you have to buy these softwares, by the way. If you're doing a live and you want to be playing a video while on a live, But let's continue we work with what we have. Excellent.
The guy said, I want to be the spokesperson for the organization. Please give me my password and my social media platforms. And I saw a red flag. He also said, we did not give him the credentials. But what he managed to do was to create a WhatsApp group, and it has 1,000 Zimura members. And the next thing, he was forcing everyone to say, there's a lawyer that I want to be the legal. And I said, no, we don't do it that way. Let's invite a couple of lawyers, let's interview them and choose the best. And the lawyer that he brought performed dismally. I think she was the worst candidate of all the lawyers that came. So for me, it was like, there's an agenda here and what is really happening. So when I started seeing some bloggers posting masalary kubasa, one is the way of doing it. One screenshot. So
you mean the salaries that were posted were not correct ones?
I cannot say they were not correct, but
you said Diagunyepa.
Okay. You see, Zimura, we are trying to get into a space where we're very transparent.
Yeah.
We need to
but Alexio was put on the spot. He should have just said. So, ndakatombotaura nyaya iyi. Pane nyaya yemasala rianetsa. And it's a good thing to people are sort of like discussing these issues. But first of all, we have to understand doxing. There's a thing called doxing. And doxing is actually not good. You can Google it. I did a post when this happened. Because when you dox people, things can happen, right? You take a spreadsheet, my salaries, over why in the public space. You see, doxing. That's why in the Western world, doxing is a crime. You don't dox. Right? I know journalists, they'll say, hey, this is investigative journalism. But the background of the politics of Zimura. This wasn't investigative journalism. Derek Amulinda Karakara, the faction of 3, is the one that gave Plot that information. It's not investigative journalism. Plot is being fed information, which is why you will see that when it comes to this thing, Plot has already taken his side. Plot has chosen his side. And he's saying, I'm a journalist, but he has chosen a side. You see, the difference between the thing about journalism is you present both sides. That's the thing about journalism. You present both sides. You do not choose a side. Because each and every person has got their agenda. Derek Amuli na Garakara vane agenda yavo. So them feeding information to Plot Marco is not investigative journalism. They are feeding information to Plot Marco because they know if we feed information to Plot Marco will be able to reach a wider audience. And also because Plot Atogara and a bond to chew with the Zimura. Atorine a bond of protection. Plot Marco has had issues with Zimura in the past. So Plot Marco has already chosen a side. And every time when Plot Marco is called out, he cries journalism. Journalism. Every time when Plot Marco is called out, he cries journalism. Because he's not ethical. He's not an ethical journalist. And I'm not afraid to say this. Because I addressed him and he blocked me. As a journalist, he blocked me. Why did he block me? Let me tell you what those people do. And I'm not the only one who was blocked. If anyone remembers when that tirade happened, Panevan Wakatondi approach, I thought you were block and Plot. If Plot doesn't like what you have to say, akaramba chiona kuti uri kuzviisa paplatform yako, and maybe that is getting likes, and maybe people are then actually starting to follow the person ari kutaura zvinhu zvinomake sense, anokublock. So Plot has actually blocked quite a few people that I know. And remember, I was blocked. But I get screenshots from people on his platform. Because you will notice, if you notice on Airground on Plot, when someone says something that they don't like, they will say, you won't have any problem. So they act more like activists than journalists. Because they have already chosen a side. And that is problematic. It's also citizen journalist manch. Because Kanama journalists were supposed to be presenting the public with exactly how things are going. Choose a side. I remember even during COVID, and people were kind of took over, but during COVID, I started raising the alarm because I started saying something here isn't right. Something here isn't right. Yes, so the same thing. That's what I even told. I told another guy, because when I started speaking about these issues, people who have never even commented on my videos and whatever started coming to, hey, you need to stop this, it's damaging your brand. I said, my guys, this will never damage my brand. You don't even know my brand. But I said, it's interesting that you've never commented on a music video yangu. You're not even subscribed to my YouTube. I post music videos, you never comment on them. But now, just because I have brought about a thought or a point of view that you do not like, you now want to talk about, no, this is bad. I've got a lot of friends who are like, but why are you defending Zimura? Zimura is bad. I was warning you that Zimura is bad. And I want to go to the ZTN interview, Temba. Because I like it, because I'm not the only one. Temba, you can watch that interview. I wanted to play it from YouTube, but like I said, Temba actually says, you know what? He speaks about how he doesn't agree with things being aired on social media. I agree with him there. We are only coming onto social media because they already aired this stuff, and now we're coming to present evidence. I told someone, when Plot Marco put screenshots of the Zimura WhatsApp group that we were in, and he saw Zimura WhatsApp group till he safe. You see, which musicians should actually look at that? Sakavana Amoli na Garakara na Derek. We're taking screenshots from that WhatsApp group, which was supposed to be a confidential WhatsApp group for Zimura members. Do you see how unethical these people are? A confidential WhatsApp group for Zimura members to air out their issues and to debate and talk. I was in that WhatsApp group, by the way. So there's nothing that Plot can tell me that I do not know, because I was in that WhatsApp group. And what was interesting is, Pakashewa, those screenshots showed a half-sided story. And this is how these journalists are now reporting these issues. Even Pakaitwa press conference, Yana Gwenzi, because I was there at the press conference. And that's how I was just citizen journalism. Because some of the journalists, and not all, but my journalists are an Plot, people who call themselves entertainment journalists, are not presenting the whole view. So I start to something, we get there so that we can cover. I covered it. I shared the video, I covered the issue. I covered the press conference for that reason. I even asked questions within that press conference that I believed were very critical. Even questions to say, is it that now, what I'm glad about is that now Vanwaku discuss. People are now talking about these issues. Like Zandatawa is DJ Ollah interview, right? I'm playing this number.
So they are correct.
Those are correct.
But at first you'd say,
But no.
Okay.
Let me explain.
Okay.
The way it was done was vakatora a picture, one column, a gross. But they forgot to mention kuti kune chinonzi pay as you earn, which is almost 30-45% of the salary. And isusu kubasa kwedu sometimes kana zvakaoma tinogona kuti half zig, half USD. So if you see net yevana that they take home, it's not as they tried to portray. And also tinoshanda ne-Labor Act. You don't just wake up and say me talk by dollar. You want.
All right. Actually, a very important thing. Chirikuitika ndoda kumbo address a plot marko. Plot marko anoita yatinoti isuti narrative setting. Is journalism. Anoita yatinoti narrative setting yekuti when he's got an issue, he will paint a certain narrative. Right? You understand that whenever we are dealing with issues, we should look at the whole picture. Right? You should be able to see the whole picture. If you want to know what a picture looks like, you have to see the whole picture. Because we can say, okay, let's take, I'll give an example of a big thing, an elephant. If we take an elephant and then a person just shows you the tail, because you all want to muswe elephant, because munargu paint a muswe elephant instead of showing you the full picture of the whole thing. So Nyema salaries, of course, people are angry. Because even if I'm getting royalties of $20, and a salary $1,000, of course I'm gonna be angry. I'm gonna be angry. You know, this is why I said, Guti, some of the playing is playing on issues, but pane narrative setting right? Narrative setting is not considering that's gross, which is important. It's a gross salary. So gross salary pane taxation, which means the net that someone is taking home. But why didn't why didn't they present the net? Because the net is what is being taken. Why didn't they present? My net salary is the one and the hour. And then Labor Act, it's very important. We employ people in this nation based on labor laws, right? You just don't employ someone and then say, I'm going to pay you peanuts. It doesn't work that way. And then people will be like, yeah, but it's just my musicians who are being paid peanuts. Right. That's a good point. But have you asked yourself, why are your royalties peanuts? I'm going to pause there. Have you asked yourself, why are your royalties peanuts? You see, the problem, people are not really looking at this whole thing. Zimbabwe has become a scapegoat. Because everyone will just say, our royalties are peanuts. I had a conversation with someone who was like, you know, I've helped some people speaking to them. Because as Zimura members, we speak to each other. Point you know, gospel grace negotiations are 1 per week. Saka multiply that times 4 weeks, multiply that times the year. Right? So 4 weeks, a year has got what? Has got 12 months. 4 weeks times 12 is what? 48. Means warira 48 times. Someone will be like, ndakarira sterek. Ndichirira. Per gospel grace at 48 times. But do the maths. It amets such a wega. Uone kuti nemari per play. So I like what Tembelami said. Because Tembelami said, pale something chatsiri kutarisa isusu. And he said, the problem I have, he was speaking about the ZBC thing. And he was saying, but I don't want to blame ZBC because obviously, it's tricky because I'm going to tread very carefully here. But I'm going to just use the words that he said. And he said, I think we shouldn't say ZBC gives us a percentage of advertising revenue. I think we should say per play, there should be an amount that is said. Kana tiri kuti tichataura kuti per play, ZBC inofanga kubhadhara $5 per play. Which means kuti munhu, when they create a hit song, I like Tembelami's point. And by the way, I also had a discussion with Tembelami at the AGM. Remember, Tembelami was also a candidate in the Zimura elections. I was also a candidate. We got to speak. We got to speak about, guys, my apologies. This Wi-Fi, Liquid Home, guys, no. Should I now go to Starlink now? Hi man. So Tembelami, we had a discussion, and if things go well, I'm actually going to try and invite him into my music room, and we actually also have a discussion. I'll even invite Derek. I'll invite anyone. This is an open call to any one of them. They can come and we can talk. We can even argue. We can have a talk, because we want to put out. Anyway, so I was saying I liked what Tembelami said, and Tembelami, remember, was a candidate. Are you considering the people that you're voting? Because Tembelami also lost. Well, a lot of the times when people then address us, I've heard people, whenever I comment on Zimbabwe issues, the other side, no, but imimi makajiwa, imimi makajiwa, as if we are not Zimura members, but we are still Zimura members. I even know Derek, speak by name, Andichki, said on one of his posts, and he says, there were 3 unelected Zimura members who were there at this press conference. Why, as a Zimura member, can I not go to a press conference in Ezogitane Zimura? And then maybe someone will ask me, why didn't you go, Derek? I wouldn't go there, because if I had gone there, then people would take photos and say, see, Tinashe Nyamkapa is what? Is endorsing Derek. You see now, I do not endorse him. I do not endorse their rebellion. I do not endorse it. And I've told people that I cannot endorse rebellion, because this is a bookish example of a boardroom coup. And then you see. So anyway, let me go back to the discussion we had with Tembelami. Tembelami, what he just said on that ZTN interview, he also said when at the AGM, he said, when I make a hit song, I should know what I will be worth because I've made a hit song. I think that's a good point. But you see, the problem is our infrastructure. Now, but because atina labels, because atina publishing houses, atina chi, everything now, people want to then blame Zimura, which Zimura's job is collection. They are not a publishing house. They are not a record label. They are not a marketing agency. They are not a music marketing agency. They are not a music manager either, right? So what happens in the Western world is that when you have got a song, you can actually get a label in order to marry in advance, knowing that they are going to recoup their money from what? From your hit song. Right now in Zimbabwe, tikati titadane my investors to invest in music. No one wants to do that. Because why? Who wants to invest in music when they know kuti when someone does a hit song in Zimbabwe? And also, because what we call a hit song in Zimbabwe is a bit problematic. And that's why even Zimbabwe has failed to break the international scene. And we keep on talking about that. That's a whole other conversation. Anyway, there's so much. I could continue playing this, but there is so much that I can do. I think what I have to do is I have to make this a daily thing for now. Because, guys, there's so much to discuss. There's so much to talk about. But let me play...
getting on coming to work, because the CMO business is a technical industry.
So we'll get to that very soon.
Yeah.
3 of your board members were absent when you held the election. Muri allowed it to go ahead with the election. Can that number of my board members is absent?
Definitely. Our constitution allows us to say as long as the quorum is reached, 3 people can come up with a resolution. And we invited, I've got the messages, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Gentlemen come, they gave excuses, and they were lying because we then saw them 3 hours into the meeting that they were holding a press conference.
Okay.
You understand? And we even asked them, gentlemen, if you're busy, you can join the elections or the meeting virtually.
Okay.
And they said, they gave excuses. Mwakati I'm busy, mwakati chi. Vanhu vanga vatosarudza kuti
That is why you...
zvataida zvaramba zvavangavafambira because we resisted them. We saw what they were trying to do, and I think vanhu vane problem yekuti vakasvika vanofunga kuti idzi dzakapusa mino yake ndiye munhu akapusa, which is very wrong. Takaona what they were trying to do, and it's just...
Okay, so Alexio is explaining the politics and what happened. These guys had an opportunity to be part of the elective process. They chose not to because they saw there was no path to victory. You know, guys, in politics, there's no path to victory. But now, there was no path to victory. What did they do? They then went and started deciding to want to burn the house down. This is why I like the ZTN interview. ZTN interview. Yakaitwa ingaena Tembelami, Chipfumbu, Finto, Edith, and whatever. And he says, putting our stuff there out on social media is not solving anything. Because it actually hurts the composer at the end of the day. Because think about it. When people are going to do research on the Zimbabwean music industry, what are they going to see? They're going to see all this nonsense about Zimura and whatnot. Which investor wants to come and invest in that mess? So are we doing ourselves a favor as musicians when we are busy hanging out our things to dry in the public? Even married people are not risanawani. It happens. This is a boardroom with people with different ideas, different agendas. People, and for me, I actually think that, let me tell you what I think. I don't know what you guys think. You let me know. Let me know in the comments. Hey, Gideon, so much. Thank you so much for being part of this. You've been here the whole time. I'm so glad. I hope this is shedding light. Please feel free to comment. Comment. I can also even address my comments now. I think, this is what I think, from a political perspective, because there's politics involved here. I think Derek, Amuli, and Karakara made the biggest mistake, biggest political blunder of their lives. They moved too quickly. And they are now paying for that. So these guys had an agenda that they had. They had a Zimura renewal agenda. But they are board members. Of course, they'll then come to you and then they'll tell you, hey, the secretariat is captured. Ndimi a board member. So the political error that they did is they wanted to move too fast. I'm saying, madam, board, target boardroom, cool. You were not wise politically. I'm talking about wisdom in political moves, because this is politics, right? You should learn from politics. Politics has to be done with wisdom. So what happens, and this is how I see it, these three are just now unhappy that they were outmaneuvered. Because remember, people are blaming Alexio for outmaneuvering them. But remember that these guys, what were they saying? They were saying, Isuzu Tudautichi, Alexio Abviswe. But remember, Alexio was democratically elected. Alexio had the biggest number of votes. He was the one who got the most votes. So if their argument, on another thing, if their argument is to say, no, Alexio can't be the chair, but Alexio got the most votes. Can I sit down and vote and whatever? So, Alex has got experience being part of the previous board, Vana First Farai. First Farai. Do you know Guti Vanu Wakawanda, Vanu Chinyira First Farai, Vanita Fet Shemi, Michichi, Gotavanya, the Chema? But have you ever asked yourself, why does First Farai keep on getting elected? He keeps on getting elected because people vote for him. The guy, let me tell you, I was at the elections. First Farai got massive votes. Even Avaru, Taurisa, Vanach, whatever, Avato Shiki Pap. Because the guy gets he has a constituency within Zimura. People, I have a constituency within Zimura. I also got votes, right? Of course, I didn't get enough votes because there's only 6 people. That's the thing, there's only 6. That's why I said I was happy Tembelani was at the end of it. Tembelani was also a thing. He didn't win, but he also got votes. So Tembelani also has a constituency within Zimura that sees him as someone who is worthy to lead. I have a constituency within Zimura. I have people who vote for me. I have people who come to me and we have discussions about Zimura issues. Actually, one lady came to me and said, you know what, Tinashi, it's funny. I actually thought you were a member of the board. Because defend Zimura. Even Mama board members don't defend Zimura Shokudaro. I was like, no, I laughed. And then I said, listen, I am just an ordinary member. But I have, as a music educator, I have an understanding that I have. Also, for me, my other thing was to bring in my producer. Because not my producer, we really don't get, because even their focus is just on Vayimbi, but the issue of copyright is bigger than just the entertainer that you see in front of you. Because we have to talk about the composers. Do you know Panomwe Ano Nyoranzio, Ano Pama lyrics and Zio? So Zimura is a complicated animal in that sense. Because there are people who might not necessarily be artists in the sense of entertainers, but they are composers in the sense that they are producers, they are the ones who create the music. I'm not Zawona Imimi. Right? Which is the other issue for my royalties. My royalties are my shoma. But you song actually out hit. You never know 10 pairi. Right? So remember, your hit might be creating some money, but this money is being shared by 5 people, by 7 people. Because kuti song yo yamuzo di hit yakanyorwa na 7. Pa split sheet pa na 7. But a person comes and then complains and says, my royalties, they are so few. But the people who wrote that song, Vakawanda. And I can say this because I have written songs I've written songs for churches. You don't even know that I'm the one that wrote that song. But Zimura, inini ndini author, ndini composer. Or if I'm not the 100% composer, I hold 60%, 70%. So I'm getting 70% of the royalties. I'm getting 70% of the royalties. Pani artists that came out naona my royalties mashoma, but akukangama kuti my royalties are being shared. So maybe the reason my royalties are only $7, $8 is because the total royalties at the end of the year is maybe $40. But this $40 is being shared amongst 5 people. Do you see? These are things that people do not consider. But we need to consider. There are multiple, there are layers to this thing. There are layers. There are layers. There are so many things. And then so when the thing then happens, everyone then just jumps up and then they say, Zimura yakashata, Zimura inogobanzira chi. Some people are not even members of Zimura. Because we have to understand, not every musician is a member of Zimura. That's a very important point. Which is why you see, Guti, I have a problem with what Amuli Garakara and Derek are doing. Because even at their thing at their caucus meeting, that caucus meeting, because we're dealing with politics. Caucus meeting, my members is Zimura Mangani Papo. You'll be shocked. And there are people who are actually doing research and trying to find out. Because I remember this is if you go on the Zimura page, Zimura poster photo in 2 are known as Zimura members. They are card carrying members of Zimura. Because you have to